It's Good Day to Steve Bone. And Steve, lots to talk about. What's number one on your mind?
I think we're trying to look forward, not back, aren't we, this week, really? We want to put the week of woe at Fratton Park behind us and get on with the season and start picking up some points again after two home defeats last week. I thought Saturday was quite sort of dispiriting in the end. I think it always feels worse if you lose two home games like that. Bang bang, quickly. Lost to Coventry on the Tuesday night, which wasn't the worst performance, and we were beaten by a team who have now scored 34 goals this season to our 10. But Stoke just felt like a game that we could have won, had the chances. When we didn't score, when we were on top in that early period of the second half, first 15 minutes of the second half, you kind of knew what was coming, didn't you? And sure enough, Stoke went down the other end, one attack, goal, and that was it, game over. So that was dispiriting. So I think we should not dwell on it too much, and try to look forward and look at where the next points are going to come from.
Do you suppose that Terry Devlin was as well briefed as Williams might have been, that the Stoke player who provided that telling cross liked to pull it back onto his right foot to do it, because Devlin seemed to be showing him wide and then was nowhere near him with a chance of blocking that cross?
Yeah. I've got a view on this. I always think it's a bit risky making a change in your back four when it's 0-0, or if you're winning 1-0 or whatever. Managers didn't used to do that generally, did they? They didn't used to bring on a sub in defence unless things were going badly at the back. John Messino does seem to like to change his right back. As somebody pointed out, he's done it sort of three or four games in a row, or it might have been just 3 or 4 games recently, where it's been Williams coming off for Devlin, or Swanson coming off for Devlin, or it might have been Williams coming off for Swanson. And I don't know why that is. Is it that he's got various right backs who he doesn't think are good enough or fit enough over 90 minutes to last if he's got an option on the bench? I don't think you could blame. You don't want to pin too much blame on Devlin for the goal, but it could have been a factor, couldn't it, making that change? But then, if you're bringing on, another right back, and he's been sitting there watching the game, and you've given him some instructions before he goes on, you would think he would be quite well briefed in what to do, wouldn't you? Interesting one. But if it was me in the dugout, and everybody can be thankful it's not, but if it was, I wouldn't be changing the defence unless the defence was doing badly. Personally, just an old-fashioned view, probably.
Oh, good point. Well made. Let's go to the other end of the pitch, shall we? There's perhaps too much talk about Colby Bishop not firing over the last 8 or 9 games, and of course he's been deprived of Murphy's excellent services, which could have something to do it. But are you getting a little bit uncomfortable about Bishop?
Yeah, he's out of form, isn't he? And I think because of that, he's a little bit low in confidence. He's not getting the service, but equally, there's a bit of an onus on him, and you could argue that he's not getting into the best positions to get the service as well. I think there's a bit of both. I was quite encouraged when I saw that Kirk and Bishop were both starting on Saturday, but he kind of played Bishop a little bit deeper, didn't he, and almost put Kirk in for Bishop and Bishop a little bit further back. I'd still like to see them as 2 out-and-out strikers. I don't think we're going to see that, because that doesn't seem to be what the manager favours. Bishop badly needs a goal for his confidence and for everybody else's faith in him, whether it's in off his shin from 2 yards, or it's a nice finish 1-on-1, or from 20 yards. 2 months without a goal. It's not the worst goal drought that a Pompey striker's ever had. The best strikers, they all have goal droughts. Harry Kane will have gone 2 months without a goal at some point for Spurs, or whoever else he's played for. And I suppose it's more noticeable because we haven't really had anyone to bring in for Bishop, have we? The manager is now placing a bit more faith and a bit more emphasis on Kirk being able to start games, and that's good. That puts a bit of pressure on him. But if we'd had a more natural replacement for Bishop, a plan B for Bishop, he probably would have sat out a couple of games before now. People forget, but in the League One title season, there were a couple of occasions where Yengi started ahead of Bishop. Because he was a bit more likely to score a goal that Bishop would have got. So because we haven't got that same level of backup, Bishop has been leaned on to start every game and to play every game. I think we said last week, didn't we? How many games has he played in the past year now since he came back from heart surgery? He hasn't really. He might have missed one or two, but he hasn't missed any more than that, has he?
No.
So tough little period for him. But I still, the manager's backing him this week, and I would back him as well. He'll come back from this, and let's hope he gets one at Birmingham at the weekend.
At Pompey Sound, we decided to wonder where was he when Kirk was presented with that 5-star opportunity as a result of that excellent cross from Murphy. And so watching it back on a wide camera, we surprised ourselves. What happened was Bishop was herring to where he knew that ball was going to be crossed. He might have got there ahead of Kirk, but he and Lang had a collision. Lang almost went over, and when that miss happened, Bishop was on his hands and knees.
Yeah. Right. I didn't see that. That's a good spot actually, because people only, I'm like most people, only look at where the ball is and what's happening there. I don't always look at where other players are who should have been a bit nearer to it. I mean, you can speculate all day, can't you? If Bishop had started as the number 9 instead of Kirk, would Bishop have taken that chance? Quite possibly, but equally quite possibly not with the form he's in. That chance could easily have gone in. Kirk didn't do a lot wrong.
No.
And if that had gone in 1-0 up, and I think we'd have gone on to win it, and everybody would be happy, and we wouldn't be talking about Bishop quite as much as we are. Bishop must be desperate to get a chance like that and put it in. I would think he's just willing us to win a penalty or anything at the moment, something that will give him a chance to break that little duck and get moving again, and start scoring a few goals, as he did splendidly last season when he got going.
Well, you didn't really want to go backwards, but I kind of forced you. So thank you for bearing with us and indulging. Let's start looking forward then, shall we? First of all, any updates on any of the many injuries?
There's been some updates out today, with Thursday as we're talking. People might be listening later, and I think we should all be looking forward to the Millwall game on November the 22nd, because there's all sorts of people that could be back for that game. We could make 11 changes that day, I think. That's a slight exaggeration. Callum Lang is looking like being back for that game. And this is the first game after the next international break. So we've got Birmingham, Wrexham and Hull to play next week, 1st, 5th and the 8th. Then we've got yet another dull, drawn-out, boring 2 weeks with no game because Malta need to play Lithuania in a friendly. But then Saturday, November the 22nd, we can all look forward to it because we're back in action. Millwall at Fratton Park. And somebody pointed out it's the first time for a long time that Pompey v Millwall has been allowed by the police to take place on a Saturday afternoon, which is an interesting point. Hopefully it will pass off peacefully. But Callum Lang is due to be back that day. Nico Schmidt is due to be back that day. Various other people could be back that day. There are some who won't be that day, but there's also some talk about Harvey Blair, people like that, Thomas Waddingham. They're sort of edging towards fitness again, so they could even be in the squad that day. But just to have, I think the headline will be Lang. If Lang comes back into the side that day, I do think we've missed him. Going back to Bishop, I do think Bishop has missed him because Lang plays that a little bit closer to him up front and feeds off of him a little bit, and I think that helps Bishop's game when Lang is in the team. We've missed Lang's goals, haven't we, apart from anything else, and his energy and his running.
We've missed him hugely. Yes, you're right, Steve.
Yeah,
we really have.
He only played the first 2 games, didn't he? So it's looking like Millwall's again. I mean, this is John Messino saying Lang will be back for Millwall, so you wouldn't be surprised to see him at Birmingham on Saturday, would you? Given the manager's record on pulling the wool over our eyes with when people are coming back. But actually, I think he's been quite consistent on that one with Lang. I don't think he's ever said he'll be out for longer than that or a shorter time than that. So that is probably when we should expect to see him. But no, some interesting injury updates. It seems a bit longer Upturn with Connor Shaughnessy. Don't think we're going to see him until December at the earliest. Franco Uma, who we haven't seen at all yet because he was injured when he came from Crystal Palace, is getting there, but I don't think he's ready yet. So lots of options there. The other person who could be back for Millwall is Segicic. So if you suddenly add Lang and Segicic back, and if we're still a bit short of goals at that time, then that's going to be a huge boost, isn't it? So that could be a big day. That could be a big day for us, really. Hopefully we'll pick up some nice points before then in these 3 games next week. But if we don't, then at least we've got the cavalry coming over the brow of the hill, to help us.
At the fans conference a couple of nights ago, Rich Hughes was asked, why do we keep picking up so many injuries? And although he provided quite a structured response to that, if you just distill it down, what he said was, we don't know.
Yeah, I did see some of his response to that, and it was an element of, which is fair enough, an element of it's not just us. There are more injuries right across football, across the Championship and across the other leagues and across football generally, which I think is probably fair. It does seem to be the case, doesn't it? And he talked a little bit, didn't he, of how football has become sort of faster paced over time, more physical. Therefore, you're more likely to have players being asked to do things that are going to cause strains and muscle problems and that sort of thing, and tears and what have you. So, and that's all quite believable, but it does seem to be in the last year or two, doesn't it? Certainly with Pompey and a lot of other teams as well. It does seem like injuries have gone through the roof, and I don't think football has changed that much in that time, particularly. It's been a gradual change for football, isn't it? It evolves, the game evolves, doesn't it, over a longer time. But injuries seem to have become a much bigger issue in quite a short space of time. I imagine Pompey will have done all the, they'll have checked their methods and their the way they train people and this, that and the other. They'll have looked at that to see if any of that needs to change. I'm sure they will have done that, and they're probably constantly doing that. So I don't think they're doing anything that they should not be doing. But it is a frustration, isn't it? We just get a couple back and then somebody else goes down. Frustrating.
On the subject of physical well-being, I just want to take a little deviation from pure football, but this affects Pompey fans. One of the questions that we noticed that were answered by email because they ran out of time at the actual conference. It was responded to by, I think, is it James Burgess? Anyway, the question was, other Championship club shops sell shirts up to 6XL in size. Pompey only go up to 3XL in size. Can we please consider stocking these, what are actually pretty huge shirts?
6XXXXXL.
Yeah.
That is very big, isn't it?
I'll tell you exactly how big it is, right? It's a 66-inch chest. Now, when you consider, and we mentioned this in a news item on Pompey Sound, when you consider that one of the greatest giant men of all time is a wrestler called Andre the Giant, and it does what it says on the tin. He is a giant, and his chest is only 71 inch is around. So my question is this: where do Pompey fans who need a 6XL shirt, where do they sit? Because I'm almost minus and I barely fit into my seat.
Yeah, that's all the seats are the same size, aren't they, around the ground, and the leg room for each one is the same size. I'd be surprised if there are that many people that need an XXXL shirt, but clearly there's a bit of an issue there, a bit of a market not being met. I wonder how they know that other clubs' shops do sell them. I wonder if there's a little, maybe there's a forum for people with 66-inch chests where they discuss whether they've been able to buy their local team's football shirt. That's very big, isn't it? Yeah, I wonder if Pompey are now going to act on that and get some in and see how many they sell.
Well, this was an interesting insight there, because the reply also carried the information that they won't be able to do it next season because next season's kit is already in production.
Is it?
Surprising?
It is a bit, isn't it? Although, I mean, it is and it isn't, because kits these days are such money spinners for clubs, aren't they? They change them every year. They have a different second one, different third one, limited edition ones, don't they? Training gear changes every year, and you can buy that. It amazes me how many people must buy a new shirt or whatever every year for them to keep doing this, because if nobody bought them, if everybody just bought one every 3 years like they used to, then it wouldn't be worth the clubs changing their kits, would it? They wouldn't change them every year just for the players, just for the team. They can only be doing it because enough people buy them for them to make some money, make a profit. And it surprises me really, but people do go for it, don't they? Have to have the latest one, I suppose. The new kit always brings the same arguments, doesn't it? It brings a lot of anticipation from fans, thinking, oh, this is going to be the best designed thing we've ever had. This is going to be a one-off and it will be the envy of the football world. And then when it comes out, people say, oh, I don't like that, I don't like those stripes, or I don't like that colour, or why is the back of the shirt like that? And I'm sure it'll be the same next year. And they argue about which kit supply we should use and everything. A lot of it goes above my head, to be honest, but interesting that they're already looking towards next season's kits. I wonder if Richard Hughes is already looking towards the players that will wear next season's kits as well in his on the recruitment side.
Well, that is a really good segue into an excellent area of conversation, or rather an excellent area for us to pick your brains. What do you think?
I think he probably is. I don't know how far in advance clubs at our level work. Clearly they will be well into working out what they want to do in January, because January is only 2 months away as of the end of this week. So they will already have started to think about who. They're probably thinking about which particular individuals they might want to bring in January, but they'll certainly be thinking about what positions they want to strengthen in, won't they? And I would imagine that as an extension of that is what happens in the summer. Where are they going to be in terms of the squad in the summer? Who's out of contract? Which of those out of contract players are they likely to let go? Which do they want to negotiate with, and probably already are negotiating with, maybe in terms of extending those contracts? And if you then work out that you're going to lose half a dozen players at the end of this season, what type of areas will they be looking in to recruit? So yeah, I'm sure it's on the radar. I suppose you have to, if you're Richard Hughes and or one of his staff, you have to sort of divide up your diary, don't you, in between how much of the week do you spend looking at the short term and looking at immediate problems and January, and how much of your week do you spend looking longer term? There always has to be an element of longer term to it, doesn't there? And maybe even looking beyond this summer. I don't know. Are they looking? Are they looking at where the young players of the future that they will want to buy will come from? Are they still thinking about Australia as a source? Are they looking at particular European countries? It'd be fascinating to do a week's work experience with Richard Hughes.
Oh yeah, wouldn't it? Do you suppose he's got somewhere on his laptop homepage a little folder entitled "Back in League One," just in case?
Well, you'd probably have to keep that in the back of your mind, don't you? Yeah, it must have been part of last season's planning, mustn't it?
Yeah.
Because we were a bit closer to the bottom than we wanted to be for half the season. And this season, we're not, at the moment, as we're speaking now, we're not that much higher up the table than some of those teams that will be going back down. So it has to be part of the contingency plan, doesn't it? You're on a different budget, you're looking at different potential signings, you're looking at having to maybe you're probably looking at losing some of your top players because they aren't going to want to play in League One for you. There's some money to be made in selling some of them as well. So yes, to answer your question, I think probably there is a folder there somewhere, and I suppose by the same token, there's probably a folder entitled "What happens if we get into the Premier League in the next couple of years?"
Oh yeah,
Because you can, we're in Division 2. You can from Division 2 you can go into Division 1 quite easily without expecting to, or you can go into Division 3 without it. It's the way football's worked for so long.
Absolutely.
And there'll be clubs that go up or down that don't expect it as well. So yeah, impossible job he's got, really.
Okay, let's look ahead then, shall we? Because one thought occurs to us, which is that most of the teams in the Championship are pretty much of a muchness. Anybody could beat anybody on the day. But when it comes to owners, you could scarcely imagine a more disparate bunch. From Sheffield Wednesday to the two sets of owners that we're playing next in Birmingham and Wrexham, one of whom is America's greatest ever gridiron hero and one of the richest sharks in America, and I'm going to say that, in American finance, who's worth more than Fort Knox. And the other lot, well, they're run by men who own Beverly Hills.
Yeah, you got a bit of everything in terms of Championship owners, haven't you? And as you say, it is a massive range in terms of wealth, in terms of what the wealth and influence that they have. And yet some of the wealthiest of those 24 owners are not at the top of the league where they would want to be. And some of the ones that you'd say are also Rands in terms of the Owners' League are doing rather better than those with all the dollars, all the dollar signs. There are, as we've said on here before, there are more American owners all the time, aren't there? There are more sort of Far East and Middle Eastern owners coming into the game now at the top level. It's a job to keep up with who owns which club, actually, and which club is owned by who. I think there'll be a lot of focus on it over the next week because we're playing Birmingham and Wrexham. It's two American-owned derbies, isn't it? If you want to put it like that. We're quite different to Birmingham and Wrexham. We don't know the ins and outs of the figures that go into those clubs, but it's, in the case of the two clubs we're playing, it's been quite eye-watering amounts, I would imagine, going in, which is why they're now in the Championship and not in League 1 or League 2. But the table at the moment, it tells a slightly different story, doesn't it? Birmingham and Wrexham both, actually next to each other in the table and not too far above us, 15th and 16th at the moment, which is probably not where their owners would want to be.
Do you think they're acclimatising, or are they just about to kick on and splash some cash in January?
I think with Wrexham, Wrexham have risen through a lot of leagues in a short space of time. They were non-league not that long ago, weren't they? And maybe they have found their sort of ceiling, even if it's their ceiling for now and not longer term. They'll I'm sure have ambitions of moving higher. But you can't, however much sort of money and investment you've got behind you, a club of a particular size can only go so far without sort of levelling out, I think. If you look at all the clubs that have come up over the years from the National League Premier, very few of them get as high as League One, and those that get into League One generally don't get into the Championship, or if they do, they sink down again pretty quickly. So Wrexham are no different in some ways to all the other sides that have come up from the National League. Although they were in the Football League before, it is a fact that they spent a period of time in non-league, and you can't expect to turn a non-league club into a Premier League club overnight. Takes a lot of money, a lot of effort, and it sometimes takes a couple of different approaches over time. Birmingham are probably, I think there is an element of Birmingham still adapting to the Championship, and I think they will get stronger. I think I tipped them to finish in the top two at the start of the season. I still think they could. They're not that far, although they're 15th, they're not that far behind in terms of points. They could be, if they put a little run together, hopefully starting after this Saturday. If they put a little run together, they could be in the top 6 in a few weeks. So I think they will get better. I think Wrexham are probably about what might be about. This might be as high as they get. They might get up to mid-table. They might be in danger of relegation as the season goes on. There's a lot of clubs that will be thinking that about themselves at the moment.
Might they be?
Yeah, so it's difficult to know what those owners are thinking of their present predicament, isn't it?
Might they be doing what you might describe as doing it the Pompey way, which is your first season in the Championship to consolidate and make sure you don't go straight back down?
It could be, yeah. I mean, that would be sensible in a way. I think we got it right, didn't we, in terms of how we approached last season. It looked a bit dicey at one stage, but the owners remained very sure of themselves in terms of, we had that quote, didn't we? We are not going to we won't get relegated from Mr. Eisner. So it could be that Wrexham have, because of how quickly they've come so far. Yeah, maybe they thought, right, a year of just getting our surroundings in a big spending league won't be a bad thing. You've got to be careful not to go straight back down, though, if you do that.
Yeah. Thinking of Wrexham reminds me, I can't recall whether we got your thoughts on Joe Morrell, and you'll realise why I think of Joe Morrell when I think of Wrexham. And, of course, he's had to hang up his boots at a very tender age.
Yeah, I think we just touched on it last week because the news had broken. But, yeah, it's a great shame for him. Only 28, isn't he? I must admit, I thought he was a bit older than that. He seemed to have been around quite a long time before he came to us, and he was with us for about 3 years. Yeah, great shame. I liked him as a player. I remember one conversation we had on here going back. It was probably the start of the 23-24 season, the start of the what turned out to be the title-winning season, and you had me and Dan Shaw on the same chat, a sort of round table sort of thing, and me and Dan both said at that time, actually, because of others that we're buying, we wouldn't mind if Pompey sold Joe Morrell. And I felt quite, given what he then went on to do in our promotion season, I felt quite bad at having said that, because he was excellent for us, and he took over as captain, I think, for a little while, didn't he, when Pack was absent. Yeah, good one to have on your side, I always thought, but quite a little terrier in midfield. Knew how to slow the game down, win a free kick. All that time that he was out injured, or for a lot of it, I thought Pompey might re-sign him eventually. I hoped they would at one stage, but that passed, and sadly the injuries have proved too much for him, and he's hung up his boots. I hope he gets a good career in coaching if that's what he wants to do, and I'm sure he will. He always struck me as quite an intelligent player, good reader of the game, and that you would think would be something that would make a good coach. So yeah, best of luck to him. Well, he's played in the World Cup finals, hasn't he? Played in Qatar in 2022, so it's not every player that can retire saying they've done that.
Yeah.
And he can say he was a championship winner with Pompey as well, which is even better.
And one last thing before we get your predictions for Birmingham, if we could, and it's this. You mentioned Millwall a couple of times earlier on in connection with that's when a lot of Pompey players who have been injured are hoped, it's expected, that they're going to become available again. And thinking of Millwall reminds me that Millwall could field a player with a name that we at Pompey remember quite well, but with mixed feelings. And that is, do you remember Miguel Aziz, who was a superstar in the making at Arsenal, but he just vanished? His brother is playing, and apparently playing well, for Millwall. So we might see him when we play Millwall. But poor old Miguel Aziz has almost disappeared off the radar.
Yeah, didn't happen for him here at all, did it? He was one of that. There was a few loanees around that time. I think that was in Danny Cowley's time, wasn't it, as manager, when we signed him on loan. And yeah, he was straight from Arsenal's under-21s. He was going to develop his game with us and then go back and be a starter for Arsenal. And I think he might have had a couple of good games for us early on, but he never built on that, and it didn't really happen, and he probably stayed in the team. He didn't maybe have the strongest squad at that time, and he may have stayed in the team a bit longer than others would have done because he was on loan from Arsenal, and then he went. Nobody noticed he went. He'd gone, I don't think. And you're right. I mean, if you'd said to me who's he played for since, I couldn't tell you because I haven't heard anything about him. Shame, isn't it? It happens to a lot of players. It happens to 17, 18-year-olds, but it also happens to 21, 22-year-olds.
He ended up playing semi-professional football for something like a Spanish League 5 outfit. Semi-professional, and this is at the age of 24.
Surprising.
I know.
Yeah. People go up and down the levels pretty quickly, don't they?
When you borrow, you either get an Abu Kamara or, no offence, a Sami Silvera.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah. We've had plenty of both in recent years. You have to cling on to the memories of the successful ones, don't you? Really, and that's why you then look for other loans when the next window comes along.
Okay, you prepared to make a prediction? I know you are always, so I'll just ask you for it. What do you think? Birmingham versus Pompey.
Yeah, I mean, Coventry and Stoke games. I did get the two score lines correct.
You did,
but I got them in the wrong order.
Yeah, well,
in an Eric Morecambe sort of way. I think we're going to get a draw at Birmingham, and I'm going to go 1-1, and I'm going to go Murphy to score the goal. Because I think he's going to start. It looks like he's ready to start a game, which is good news. That might in itself give us a lift, but I think we're going to go 1-0 up but end up drawing 1-1. But I think we will beat Wrexham next week. We've only played Wrexham. This is a funny thing. We've only, in our whole history and theirs, we've only played Wrexham 7 or 8 times. And I don't think we've played them since, I may be wrong unless I'm forgetting something, but I don't think we've played them since the 1980s. Having gone our separate ways, but I think we're going to beat them this time on fireworks night. We are going to beat them 3-1, I think.
Like it.
We will see.
Steve, as ever, a great privilege to receive your, what did that American fan of yours say in this email that arrived this morning? Thoughtful, intelligent and genuine, and that's what you are. So thanks again for your contribution. Talk in a week's time.
Thank you very much. Look forward to it.